Live from Giant Stadium in the Meadowlands of New Jersey, ABC Sports presents the North American Soccer League Championship game. Soccer Bowl 79. As the National Conference champion Vancouver Whitecaps meet the American Conference champion Tampa Bay Rowdies.
Camera perched on top of Giant Stadium in the Meadowlands of New Jersey. You're looking about 5 miles as the crow flies across the Hudson River to the skyline of New York. There's the Empire State Building, 3,500 miles from Vancouver, 1,170 miles from Tampa, Florida. This ABC Sports exclusive is brought to you by Budweiser. For all you do, this Bud's for you. By Fiat, makers of the new front-wheel drive Fiat Strada. Strada, beautiful, comfortable, original, another Italian work of art. And by Ortega Tacos, the tacos that are fun to make and fun to eat. So when you think of tacos, think Ortega Tacos. So here is the matchup before the big crowd on a beautiful day. Vancouver against Tampa for the league championship. Giant Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey. Good afternoon. I'm Jim McKay speaking to you from our commentary position, and this is a fascinating matchup. The same in many ways as last week's matchup between Vancouver and the Cosmos. Vancouver again, of course, this time against Tampa Bay. Two cities further apart than any two cities that have ever met for a professional sports championship in the United States. As for Vancouver, they're British, remember, in style and in personnel. All of their starting 11 either British or Canadian, and they're close, tight marking. That's the way they play in England. As for Tampa Bay, they're more like the Cosmos, more of a South American and international style of play and lineup. In their starting 11, for example, you'll see players from Argentina and from Holland, from Scotland, the United States, Canada. So this is the matchup. There's a personal story here, too, also. Last year, just minutes before the start of the Soccer Bowl, there was a shocking announcement that Rodney Marsh, the captain of Tampa Bay, would not play because of a somewhat mysterious injury. He's here today. He will start, and this is his final competitive game as a soccer player. It's a long and illustrious career. Right now, he's down on the sideline with Vern Lundquist. Vern?
Thank you, Jim. Rodney, maybe you could clear up the mystery of why you were unable to play 1 year ago today.
Yeah, I got a bad kick in the back of my leg in the semi-finals against Fort Lauderdale, and it really didn't have time to clear up before the weekend. We only had 3 days, and I was injured, and so I couldn't play.
That makes this game doubly meaningful, especially since it's your last competitive game.
Oh, it's a very big game for me. It's a very big game for the Rowdies. We'd love to go out this season on a great note, and I would love to go out personally on a great note, so it's a very big game for us, yeah.
Rodney, do you expect a wide-open attacking game today?
No, I think it'll be a midfield game, and I think that whoever scores the first goal will have a tremendous advantage.
You've meant a lot to the league. Thank you for dropping by, and have a great game today.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Rodney Marsh, one of the stars of the Tampa Bay Rowdies. It's Tampa Bay and Vancouver in Soccer Bowl 79 on ABC Sports.
The excitement builds as we come to you live. It's just minutes now away from the kickoff for Soccer Bowl 79. Here's our expert on the sport. You must know him by now, Paul Gardner. Paul, I said that the matchup here was somewhat like last week's matchup with the Cosmos. True?
Very true indeed, because Tampa are that sort of team. They are what I described last week as a more artistic type team. Now, I want to talk about an artistic player on the Vancouver Whitecaps this week. Willie Johnston, he really showed us something last week. He's a very dangerous attacking player, a marvelous dribbler of the ball, superb ball control, almost South American in his touch. This is a player who can win a game for you. He just absolutely imposes his presence on a game if he's given enough of the ball. This is the player I think that Tampa are going to have to watch this afternoon.
Plays South American, talks Scottish, however. How about Oscar?
Oscar Fabiani. Well, he is genuinely South American, and he talks South American. Again, reversing the tables, this is the player, of course, that Vancouver are going to have to watch, because we've seen enough of Fabiani to know now that he can turn the slightest chance, even where you might not even recognize a chance. He can turn this into a goal opportunity. Terrific shooting power, and very good with his head as well. So again, Vancouver will have to watch Fabiani very closely this afternoon.
Okay, Paul, just a brief look at what might develop here. In a minute, we'll be meeting the complete starting lineups for both teams. Vancouver against Tampa Bay. It's almost time for the kickoff.
The Fiat Strada will go well over.
It doesn't matter how many years go by. There is always a standing ovation when this man walks on a soccer field, particularly here in the metropolitan New York area. The great Pelé, the most famous player in the history of the game. He's come out for a ceremonial kickoff to begin the proceedings here in Soccer Bowl 79. The man who, in many ways, put the sport of soccer on its way in the United States, coming here in the twilight of his career to play 3 years for the Cosmos. But now it's making it on its own. There it is. All right, gentlemen, now you can play for real. Looks like he's still in pretty good shape, Paul.
I don't think I've ever seen him looking in better shape, as a matter of fact. This non-training must suit him.
All right, Tampa Bay will kick off going from left to right. They are in the white uniforms with the green and yellow stripes on their arms, yellow socks. Vancouver in their traditional blue and white. For the sea and for the white-capped waves of the Pacific. One team from the Atlantic coast, the other from the Pacific coast. The two cities, 3,500 miles apart. Okay, Tampa on the attack, and immediately Steve Wegerle going down, but the ball is headed away by Roger Kenyon. He'll be one of the middle defenders. He and Craven will be very important in this game. Kenyon again.
A little sign of nerves there, Jim. A bad clearance, which was picked up by Rodney Marsh. He should never have got that ball. Picked up by him in a dangerous position, and he sort of rather lamely pushed it forward where there wasn't any Tampa Bay forward, straight to Phil Parks.
Now, of course, although the Cosmos aren't in this game, many of the fans here are Cosmos fans, and the booing you heard is because Cosmos fans have taken a dislike to Phil Parks, the Vancouver goalie. He tends to stop a lot of shots. Vancouver then in the blue, trying to start their first offensive move. The feeling out process underway. That was Rodney Marsh, who had momentary possession. Now Vancouver is playing, they call a 4-2-4, but it's a little more subtle than that, isn't it, Paul?
Yeah, a little more subtle, a little more complicated, or maybe a little less complicated. Well,
that was Valentine, Carl Valentine, number 21, and he is the man who is sort of the fourth forward.
Now, and he's a very dangerous man indeed, as you saw there, because he's got a corner out of this, the first corner of the game to Vancouver, and as we've stressed many times during these telecasts, corners are dangerous. They can lead to goals.
Okay, taking the corner was Willie Johnson. There it is. Into the middle and picked off by Bilecki. The opening moments of Soccer Bowl 79, the sun shining in New Jersey. The temperature about 70. It's a lovely day to watch or to play. Here comes Van der Veen, giving it to Rodney Marsh. Marsh, the blonde, easy to spot out there, number 10. Now we have Steve Wegerle, the South African. He sets up a lot of goals for this team. Towards Rodney Marsh, but right at Phil Parks. Boy, every time Parks touches the ball, these
chorus of boos for him there.
Yeah.
He's very unpopular here. Well, he did make himself unpopular in one league game here this season by constant time wasting and sort of waving at the crowd and taunting them. They've never forgotten that.
One of a number of things that are being proven here today is the fact that this is far from a one-team league anymore, the North American Soccer League. The mighty Cosmos are not here. It's their stadium, but they were beaten last week by Vancouver. Tampa Bay looking for that win that eluded them last year when they lost in the bowl game to the Cosmos. Tampa Bay won the first Soccer Bowl, 1975. It was their first year in the league. It was played out in San Jose that year. Since then, they were in the bowl last year and back again this year. And in fact, every year since they won the Soccer Bowl, they've been beaten in the playoffs by the team that eventually won. But it's Vancouver in the blue with the ball. And there's Valentine again, down towards Kevin Hector. Hector keeping the ball inbounds. There it is, still in play. And now over the end line, it's going to be another corner kick for Vancouver. Remember, maybe this is your first soccer game. I have a feeling a lot of people are tuning in for Soccer Bowl that haven't been with us before. If the defensive team puts it over the end line or the goal line, the offensive team puts it in play by a corner kick. If the offensive team puts it over the goal line, the defensive team puts it in play. It's that simple. Here comes Steve Wegerle on the wing. He likes it out there. Parks came all the way out, but the ball just got over the end line.
All sorts of trouble there for Vancouver. Parks coming out to handle that ball, realized he'd got to go outside the penalty area, where of course he can't touch it. Then he slipped and he brought Fabiani down, or brought Steve Wegerle down. So I mean, that means a free kick to Tampa just outside the penalty area there.
Okay. Or are they going to call corner kick? They're going to call it a corner kick. Yeah. Steve Wegerle ready to take it, the first corner kick for Tampa Bay. Here it comes. Centered on the ground to Rodney Marsh.
Serious problems for Vancouver there, because Tampa doing something that wasn't expected at all. The corner did not come over in the air. It came on the ground. Rodney Marsh pushed it through. And here on the right was Manny Andruszewski running in, who could well, I think, have pushed that ball into the net. Not Andruszewski. Kitchener that was, a fullback, right up there in the penalty area.
You think ground balls may be the strategy today for
Yeah, I think Tampa will definitely try and keep the ball on the ground to keep it away from the tall central defenders, Kenyon and Craven, who, of course, are very good in the air, like to play the ball in the air. Why should Tampa give them that opportunity?
Okay, so we'll look for a ground attack from Tampa Bay. On the other hand, Vancouver likes to get it into the air to get that head of Willie Johnson that's been so effective in recent weeks.
Willie Johnson, of course, is not the tallest player in the air. I asked him, how come you're heading goals here? And he looked at me as though I really didn't understand him at all and said, oh, I'm absolutely deadly in the air, he said.
Willie Johnson will be very much in this game, and there he is. He was a Scottish international, was caught on the drug test at the World Cup in '78. Most people thought it was kind of a bum rap. Traces of amphetamines were found. However, many people claim that just about everybody down there had a little bit of... Willie, earlier this... Well, let's see, here's Alan Ball. There's a good look at the 5'6" midfielder who sets it up a lot. Came to them mid-season. Valentine is decked.
Well and truly barged out of the play by who was that?
Vanderveen, yeah. So it's a free kick for Vancouver. There's the center towards Johnson, but again, Bilecki was there.
Bilecki took that ball well, because that was deflected early in its flight. Valentine struck it hard and low, and this is the sort of center he sends across. They're not floaters. They come in hard and they're moving, and it was deflected early in its flight. And Bilecki took that ball well, considering that change of direction.
Considering the fact that the hometown Cosmos are not here, there's a beautiful crowd on hand today. Won't be an official attendance until well into the second half. But it's certainly, well, I would guess 50,000, maybe better.
Oh, I think so, because not many empty seats to be seen in the lower two levels at all.
Okay, Vancouver now. There's Bob Leonarduzzi, the Canadian. Now, that was Ray Lewington, too, and then Alan Ball getting it down towards Hector. Back out again. There's Willie Johnston with it. Over to Leonarduzzi. Johnson to Leonarduzzi, who was born less than a mile from the Vancouver Stadium. And boy, he's made his presence known on the team. He's no token Canadian in the lineup, not Bob Leonarduzzi.
Rodney Marsh flattened by Alan Ball there. The referee letting play go on because of the advantage rule, but he's pointing an accusing finger at Alan Ball.
Okay, here they come. John Gorman, the overlapping defender. There was Fabiani for a moment, had the ball. And there, shot by Vanderveen along the ground.
Somewhat optimistic effort, I think, there from about 22 yards out.
Again, if you're new to soccer, it is obviously 11 men on a side, continuous action, anybody can score. The only timeouts can be called by the referee, and that normally is only for injury time on the field, and it's always brief. 45-minute halves. Should it be tie at the end of the regulation game, we'll have 15 minutes of sudden death. If that doesn't do it, then a shootout to decide the championship. One would hope that it will be decided in regulation time, because it seems a fairer way for it to happen. You've just joined us. It's Tampa in white, Vancouver in blue. Except for the goalies, of course, who always wear a different color. In fact, that's required by the rules.
Yeah, just so the referee can tell who's handling the ball.
Okay, there's Vanderveen. Boy, he's tough. To Wegerle. And into touch or out of bounds.
Yeah, Wegerle turning the ball, trying to chase it, but of course the ball runs so swiftly on artificial turf that he really didn't have a chance to catch up with that.
Must be thrown with both hands from back over the head. So it is by Vancouver. Kevin Hector with the ball now. Their scoring leader. But it's taken away by Tampa Bay. Again, Vanderveen with the ball. Vanderveen, a midfielder who can do a lot of defending. He can also score. He's been more and more important, it seems to me, to Tampa Bay as the season has gone along. Tampa Bay very deliberate in the opening minutes here. There are 36 minutes and 35 seconds left in the first half.
Yeah, I think both teams trying to be deliberate, but there's evident signs of nervousness on both sides. Well, they're not quite putting the ball where they want to put it.
Wes McLeod with a long kick downfield that's headed away nicely.
Collision between two Vancouver defenders there. Except, well, not defender. Weimark was back there and collided with Parsons.
Score is 0-0, and throw in for Tampa Bay to their scoring star, Oscar Fabiani. That's going to be a goal kick. The score 0-0. We'll be right back. We return to the live action in Soccer Bowl 79. Referee Gino DiPolito there from Yonkers, New York. He's the only man on the field who's close to home, of course. Vancouver, about 3,000 miles from home. Tampa Bay, almost 1,200. That'll be a direct free kick. All fouls, virtually all fouls in the game of soccer, again, if you're a newcomer, are punished by a free kick for the other side at the point at which the foul occurred. The exceptions to that are fouls in the penalty area. If it's one of the more serious fouls in the penalty area, it's a penalty kick from the penalty spot, with a man taking the kick one-on-one against the opposing goalkeeper. But right now it's Vancouver moving. Johnston getting it in to Alan Ball. He's the midfielder, but he can shoot. One of the key men for England in the World Cup in 1966.
Well, Johnston setting up an attack there, but look how quickly Tampa have come out of that, and they caught Vancouver with quite a lot of men downfield.
Okay, here's Fabiani. He's got Anderson down on the left side, but that's all. He could shoot himself, though. He's their scorer. Out to Anderson, over to Rodney Marsh. Marsh now setting it up, taking their time. Or Tampa Bay in towards Fabiani, trying a little scissors kick, couldn't get to it. Back out again. They've still got possession. Tampa Bay on the attack now. Van der Veen kicking it off the back of Valentine. Rodney Marsh coming out for it.
Great burst of acceleration from Rodney Marsh to get that ball there.
John Gorman, the overlapping defender. He's been known to score. He'll give you all kinds of moves out there. You'll see that as the game goes along. Okay, Steve Wegerle. And picked away by John Craven, the middle defender. But again, Tampa Bay getting possession. Van der Veen to Wes McLeod, the young Canadian, and over and in sidelines to Gorman. Gorman with the ball. He's a Scot. His first year in the North American soccer. See, he gives you those stutter steps. He'll give you everything out there except the rope-a-dope. In towards Fabiani. Almost got his head on it. John Craven with the ball now.
Well, again, that's what we were talking about. A high ball in like that. I don't think Fabiani is going to beat Craven in the air when the two have more or less equally good position, which they did there. And Craven, of course, was the winner.
That's Kevin Hector getting it back out. And now here comes Tampa Bay again. Rodney Marsh. Now we have Steve Wegerle. There's Fabiani on the solo run, but he passes it over to the side. A shot by Peter Anderson.
Craven down on the ground had that ball thumped right into him. Fabiani's hand went up almost automatically because he felt there must be a handball there somewhere.
You started to explain earlier that the 4-2-4 so-called of Vancouver is really more of a 4-3.5, 2.5 or something.
Yeah, because Valentine, who's nominally a forward, spends a great deal of time in midfield.
Look out. A shot. A goal by Trevor Weimark. Vancouver has taken the lead. They've gotten the critical first goal. Weimark, 28 years old. A veteran star in England has turned on that crowd of people who have come all the way across the continent.
I don't know whether they'll give an assist on that goal or not, Jim, because that was really Weimark working on his own. You'll see him here absolutely charging past everybody, sheer determination, head down, right to the edge of the area, and he's just on the edge of the penalty area. This left-footed shot which goes under Bilecki. Bilecki had come out because he suddenly realized that his defenders were falling away from him there. And you'll see him charging through here, pulling the ball to the side, running virtually straight down the middle here. And there's the shot under Bilecki. Weimark again over the 35-yard line, being chased by Gorman. It's Connell. Now Kitchener across, can't get to him, and this left-footed shot. Bilecki out there in good position, I would have thought, on that, but unable to stop it.
Weimark, at age 29, signed a very lucrative contract with Vancouver for this season. It's his first year over here. As we said, he was a great player in England for Ipswich Town. In fact, was the striker of the 1978 FA Cup final champions.
We have to see what an early goal does here, because there are so many instances in soccer, in a big game, of a team getting the first goal and then ending up on the losing end, because it's sort of, you quite know what to do with that early goal. Do you protect it, or do you try and go out and increase the score? Let's see what Vancouver does with this lead.
31 minutes, 35 seconds left in the first half. Valentine now. Vancouver still with the momentum after the goal by Weimark. Earlier in the playoffs, he had a very controversial goal against the Cosmos. Cosmos thought it was offside. Let's take a break. It's 1-0 Vancouver. All right, it'll be a free kick for Vancouver as we return to the live action. They lead 1-0 in the Soccer Bowl against the Tampa Bay Rowdies. The human wall has been set up. They've been known to score on this, and it was Weimark. Off the post, off the crossbar. By Hector, it was the second shot.
Well,
Weimark hitting the right post, Hector hitting the crossbar. Can you believe that?
You have to wonder exactly what the Tampa defense is doing on that. The free kick taken over the wall, beautifully taken. Bilecki not expecting it to go that side. Look at that curving. He watches it, hits the post. Now they're all standing still, and they're allowing Hector to get in there and take that unmolested. This time over Bilecki, hitting the bar down, evidently not inside the goal. No appeals there.
A tremendous break, 2 breaks really for Tampa Bay. Let's see if they can take advantage of it as they trail 1-0. Valentine stealing the ball away for Vancouver. Here it is to Hector, who had that second shot, the one that hit the crossbar. Leading scorer on the team, Bob Lenarduzzi, who left side defender, but he'll come up and overlap for you. He can score too. This is Ray Lewington, number 2. Now back over to Lenarduzzi. He's got Willie Johnson down on the left. Hector just beside him. Now Hector coming around to the left side as Lewington takes it. Johnson's in the middle, and there's Willie banging it back out to Lewington. Trevor Weimark is down near the penalty area as Alan Ball puts a couple of his moves on it and is fouled by Jan van der Veen.
And Van der Veen saying, as you can see from his movements there, that he thought Alan Ball took a dive on that.
Last time we saw Van der Veen on ABC, he was playing with a broken nose in the playoff against Philadelphia. Long cross across the field, intended for John Craven, but into touch or out of bounds. 1-0, Vancouver leading with 29 minutes remaining in the half. The action is live. At stake is the championship of the North American Soccer League. Just 1 game to decide it between the Vancouver Whitecaps from Canada and the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Vancouver leading 1-0 with 28 minutes 10 seconds remaining in the first half. A beautiful day, remember. It's cool, the sun out most of the time. Couldn't be more pleasant to watch or to play. There's Jan van der Veen for Tampa Bay in the white. They're moving from left to right. If you haven't been with us all the way, Vancouver in the blue, though, is leading the game, remember, 1-0. Tampa Bay disconcerted by the sudden goal by Trevor Weimark. Almost had another one scored on them on a free kick. They had one shot off the post, another one off the crossbar.
It was a sudden flurry of activity, because until that point, really, Tampa Bay seemed to be the team who were beginning to impose a sort of pattern to get their style, their formation working. And then suddenly Vancouver struck with that goal, and while Tampa, I guess, was still thinking about that, they looked as though they were completely asleep on that free kick situation.
Okay. Yeah, well, neither the goal nor the near goal came from the normal attacking pattern, really, of Vancouver.
No, Weimark's goal was an individual effort.
Yep.
Some really rather lax defensive marking there. He seemed to sweep past defenders rather too easily there.
Normally they come down with, well, almost 4 forwards. Valentine kind of playing halfway back to it.
Well, Valentine has been doing a lot of attacking, and if you look at his position now, he is in midfield now. That seems to be his, well, I hesitate to call it his resting position, but where it starts from.
Rodney Marsh almost got to that ball, but not quite. Cross field now, and still in play, but out of bounds.
Yeah, well, another example, I think, of the way things are not going quite right at the moment for Tampa. An easy pass, but misplayed by Rodney Marsh.
So here come the Whitecaps again. Alan Ball tried to get it to Hector, but Weimark has it now, the man who scored the goal, remember. Former leading scorer for
another pass gone astray, this time the other way, letting Wegerle, the man you don't really want to give the ball to.
He's dangerous on that wing. There was the pass, but nobody there.
Well, good defensive cover there again by Vancouver. These big men get back very quickly. That was Kenyon in good position to cut out that low cross on the ground again.
I counted 5 defenders in the penalty area, and only Fabiani for the offense.
Very quickly getting back.
And that's going to be a direct kick for Tampa Bay. Gino Dipolito, the referee. Dipolito. Wes McLeod, Canadian, playing for Tampa. To Wegerle now. Back to Andrzejewski. He moves it across field to Mike Connell, number 6, and now to Barry Kitchener. McLeod. Tampa Bay just has not had the momentum since that goal was scored against them. As Paul indicated, they seem to have all the momentum before that sudden move. Okay. Remember last week, Vancouver struck in a lightning fashion every time they scored a goal.
Yeah, well, of course, where you've got a team that has a solid defense, you're perfectly content to let the opposing team come at you, because you feel you can absorb all this. And the way to score goals from those defensive situations is by sudden counterattacks.
Down on the sidelines, Vern is with the great Johan Cruyff. Let's just watch what happens here first of all. Excuse me, Vern. We'll have a word with them as soon as we get this free kick. Well, they've got.
That's a strange free kick situation because they're not setting up a wall. They're absolutely challenging somebody to stop this ball. There's no real wall there at all.
No, there's two semi-walls. So Rodney decides to push it over the side to Van de Veen. Van de Veen into the middle. And here comes Tampa Bay. Let's go down to Vern now with Johan Cruyff.
We have perhaps the most famous active player in the sport with us right now, the player of the year of the NASL, Johan Cruyff. I'd just like your view on what's happened so far.
Well, from my way of thinking, everything is happening normal. We knew already the Rowdies were a little more technical, individual skill. We knew too that the Vancouver, for my sake, is one of the best organized teams on the field of this league. And you could see it, the Rowdies were going on quite well. And at the moment that everybody expected, they got to take over now. The Rowdies. That's the moment for the Vancouver to react. They've got three forward players who can, for the individual skills, they can outplay somebody. They can score a goal.
Okay, Johan, we are looking forward to perhaps having you on with us in the second half as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Johan Cruyff. Jim?
A few words from the most famous active player in the game of soccer anywhere in the world, really. Johan Cruyff, most valuable player in the North American Soccer League this year for the Los Angeles Aztecs, who lost in the playoffs to the Vancouver Whitecaps. So Vancouver beat tough teams on their way to this final, Los Angeles and the Cosmos. And here come the blue-clad Whitecaps again. Leading 1-0.
Very neat piece of defensive work by Craven. That was really quite delicate for a big man. He got past Rodney Marsh and another Tampa player with some very fancy footwork.
23 minutes exactly remaining in the first half of play. Vancouver 1-0 over Tampa. Van der Veen now, the midfielder, number 5, with the ball. Getting it towards McLeod. A collision between two Tampa players, between Fabiani and McLeod.
It's also very evident, Jim, that Vancouver are not going to give up on any ball. They're doing a lot of what we would be called in hockey forechecking. They're really going for Tampa players in the ball in their own half.
Here they come, Van der Veen with the ball. Has he got a shot? Yes, it's a goal! Young Van der Veen ties it up.
Not extraordinary, Jim, because that was a rather similar sort of run to the one Weimark made, where you feel any minute he must lose the ball. He must fall to one of those defenders. He kept it, he ran on, the goalkeeper came out, and he put it under him.
Who was it said there wasn't enough scoring in the game of soccer? 22 minutes.
And here comes that run, bursting through two defenders. Another defender coming across to cover. Lenarduzzi, I think that is, number 6. And again, Parks out Roger Kenyon. And again, he's past the defenders now with Kenyon coming across, cutting off. But he plays Kenyon very well. He brings it back this side of him and right foots it. Beautifully placed shot under Parks' right arm. So we have a tight game.
1-1 with 22 minutes left in the first half. Carl Valentine with the ball for Vancouver. So many people wrote that this was going to be a close-marked, perhaps slow defensive game. It's been exactly the opposite so far.
Well, it's very interesting. Well,
go ahead.
It's very interesting to listen to coaches and players tell you before a game how they think it's going to be played. Of course, no coach is going to tell you, well, you're going to go out there and just run everybody into the ground in the first 15 minutes. They all say it's going to be cautious, and I think they believe that.
Yeah.
But when they get out there, and the adrenaline takes over and the crowd noise takes over, somehow or other those plans, they just don't seem to be put into practice too well.
Willie Johnston, in his Scottish accent, trying to get his players adjusted for the center on the corner kick. Picked off nicely by Bilecki.
Beautifully taken by Bilecki.
Another look at the goal coming up.
Van der Veen already has the ball on the edge of the area. That's his shot there. A beautifully taken shot, a beautifully placed shot, in fact.
Here he comes.
And he got the ball away there. Anderson more or less gave it to him. And this is where he fakes Kenyon out. And you can see 3 defenders converging on him. And he gets the shot off just at the right time, before the defenders can get to him, before Phil Parks can get set. If he pushed it any further forward before taking the shot, I think Parks would have got it.
There's Tony Waiters. And he's well named because he's one of the waiters. He can wait and be patient, as can his team. They are really unflappable. That's been their main characteristic, perhaps, in the playoffs this year. Their organization, their patience, their poise.
I think we're seeing a little bit of semi-gamesmanship here from Tampa. They've survived really a nasty storm from Vancouver there.
Oh, goodness.
Fabiani, again, is a man who seems to be made of rubber and absorbs all these blows. Of course, in the position he plays up front, you've got to take a lot of heavy physical contact there. But I say Tampa survived that. In fact, they've done more than survive it. They've got back level, and now I think they're trying to slow the game down just a little so that they can start reimposing their pattern on the game again. Vancouver, of course, they're not going to let them do that.
20 minutes left in the first set. Alan Ball goes down. But the play goes on. Here comes Leonard Doozy down his left side. That's his normal position, coming from left defender down to join the attack. Kevin Hector now. Leonard Doozy's by himself for the moment. Back in towards Hector, but it's Lewington. To Weinmark, to Lewington again, and finally to Balecki, the goalkeeper. Very close. It's tied up at 1-1. Bay Rowdies, having tied the game at 1 apiece with the Vancouver Whitecaps, are on the move again in their white, green, and yellow uniforms. Vancouver in the blue on defense. It's the soccer bowl for the championship of the North American Soccer League. Here comes Tampa now. Watch it as Wegerle begins to set it up from his wing position. Maintains possession. Couple of fakes. Throw towards Fabiani, headed away over the end line by Craven.
I think Craven touched that as it went over. But again, a ball going in the air, that ball has got to be lower than that. If that ball had been lower, Fabiani would have had himself a goal because he was on this side of Craven. But of course, once the ball's up high, then Craven is certainly going to get it. He got it. He didn't do what he wanted to with it. He's given away a corner.
I'd like to alert our local lookout. Here comes the center. Rodney Marsh going for it. Monderveen again, the man who scored the goal. Now Rodney, playing the last game of his career, remember, takes a shot.
Oh, my God!
A fantastic, magnificent header.
Exactly.
Oh, hold it. Offside. Offside, goal on the play as Fabiani headed it into the goal. What did you think?
Well, I'm still trying to assess that situation because Rodney Marsh measured that cross beautifully, and as he was measuring the cross, I was watching Fabiani make his run, and I'd have to look at it again to decide whether I thought that was offside or not, because Fabiani is an absolute master at timing those runs. He met the ball perfectly and scored what looked like a good goal. But we'll go along with the referee's decision until we look at it again.
Here it is.
That's the earlier play.
Before the corner kick.
Yeah, that's what led up to it.
Okay, when we have a chance, we'll get a look. There's Gordon Jago, the coach of the Rowdies, very much into this ball game. He's had a tremendous record since he came. Got them into the soccer bowl last year, wants to win it this time. Leonard Doozy.
I'll say one thing, Jim, though, even though that is not going to count, that was not a goal, that has got to make Vancouver start thinking about just how dangerous Fabiani can be on the near post.
Beautiful pass.
Really, it was a superb curling cross from Marsh. Now here's Marsh. Now we're going to see this perfectly.
Here he goes.
There's Fabiani breaking. Now, unless there's anybody at the top of the screen who we can't see, then clearly he was offside, and that was a good decision.
He was indeed offside, and so it was called. Still 1-1 with 16 minutes, 35 seconds left in the half. I'd like to alert our local stations that we'll be taking a station break at our next opportunity. By the way, you know, Peter Anderson assisted on that goal of Vanderveen, and they're the two men, both of whom came to Tampa Bay in a trade with San Diego last winter. Not a bad trade as it looks now for the Rowdies. Okay, here's Rodney Marsh with the ball. Into the middle, but it's Paul Valentine who's there. And Vancouver still trying to regain the momentum that they had and lost on the sudden goal by Vanderveen. Both goals being very sudden. One, a solo job by Trevor Weinmark for Vancouver, and then Vanderveen.
Vanderveen was almost they've given Anderson an assist. It's almost a fortuitous assist because in fact he lost the ball in a tackle, and it bounced loose to Vanderveen.
Okay, still in play as John Craven, the captain of Vancouver, gets it back to his goalie. We'll be back with more Soccer Bowl 79 after this word from our local stations. It's still 1-1 between Vancouver and Tampa Bay as they play for the championship of the North American Soccer League. 14 minutes, 35 seconds left in the first half. For those of you who are newcomers and wondering why we said on that replay it was evident that he was offside, you are offside in the game of soccer if there are not at least two defenders between you and the goal line at the time the ball is passed to you. And that seemed clear on that replay. So, 1-1. 14 16 minutes, 10 seconds now. There is Phil Parks, the leading goalkeeper in the North American Soccer League this year, both statistically, only goalie in the league with a scoring average against him of under a goal a game, and also by a vote, because he was named the most valuable goalkeeper. Vancouver now, Leonard Duzzi with the throw-in to Roger Kenyon. Now to Craven. He's one of the middle defenders. He and Craven are the heart of the Vancouver defense. This time on the attack, however, it was headed away by Manny Andrzejewski. And again, it'll be a throw-in for Vancouver. I think the ball went under one of our camera platforms, but they got it back out again. Willie Johnson, they've got his name misspelled on his jersey, by the way.
No
you
T.
notice that?
Yeah.
No, he spells his name with a T. I asked him yesterday. He said, it's wrong on me jersey.
All sorts of contact there between Van der Veen and Alan Ball. Ends up with a free kick to Vancouver, and again this is in a very similar position, only on this side of the field. On the left side of the field is distinct from the right, from where they hit the bar and the post about 15 minutes ago.
But this time it's an indirect free kick, which means the ball must touch another player. It can be a player of either side before it goes into the goal. A direct kick, you can kick it right into the goal. Another whistle. I'm not sure what the call is.
I think he's going to make him retake it. I don't know why.
Dangerous play apparently was called. It's Alan Ball now with the indirect free kick to Willie Johnson, and Johnson's shot goes far astray. It'll be a goal kick for Tampa Bay as Willie talks to himself. Seconds remain in the first half of play. Soccer Ball 79. Vancouver 1. Tampa Bay 1. Tampa Bay on the attack in the white. Vancouver in the blue. Rodney Marsh going for the ball. Captain of the Rowdies. Into touch or out of bounds. It'll be a throw-in for Tampa Bay. There's a good look at Rodney Marsh at age 34, closing out his career today competitively. They're calling for a foul in the penalty area, but they didn't get it. Rodney Marsh is all over referee Dippolito. He's going to get at least a yellow card. That's a caution on Rodney Marsh. One more caution and he'd be out of the game.
Rodney Marsh and Oscar Fabiani. Of course, that yellow card was simply for barging him. He ran into him and really made very solid contact with the referee there, and you just must not do that in soccer. Rodney Marsh knows that. He can't really argue with the yellow card on that, but he feels aggrieved because he's quite sure there was a handball there.
So he's got one yellow card, and look at the anger and determination in that mouth.
We'll see what happens when the ball comes into Fabiani here. Now Fabi gets over passes. There's Craven behind him. Well, clearly it did touch the hand of Craven. I think you can very clearly see that. You can see Marsh bumping into the referee in the background there. The question is, was it intentional? Did Craven play that ball deliberately with his hand, or did the ball play the hand? If Craven played it intentionally, it should have been a penalty kick.
By the way, when we say you cannot use your hands in soccer except for the goalie, your hands means anything all the way up to your shoulder. You can't intentionally hit it with your upper arm either. So remember now, a yellow card is a caution. 2 yellow cards are equivalent to a red. A red card means automatic expulsion from the game. When you're out for the rest of the day, and no one can be substituted for you. Your team plays shorthanded. And that'll be free kick for Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Willie Johnson and I think Van der Veen getting into a bit of a scuffle there. Some high feet, but immediately called by the referee Dippolito, who's on top of the play.
Valentine on the wing now, out on the right side, trying to open up the defense, centering the ball towards Hector, but it was Weimark after the ball went over Hector's head.
Very dangerous situation there, Jim. Valentine with a terrific speed down the right, going past the fullback, pulling back a curling centre, which caused all sorts of problems. And that was only kicked away, really in desperation. That ball, I think, could easily have gone into the goal instead of for a corner kick.
All right, there's the ball centered on the corner kick for Vancouver. Lewington doesn't spread out pretty well, but the interception is by Mike Connell. Iron Mike Connell, the defender from South Africa for Tampa Bay. Down to Fabiani. Fabiani has Connell coming down the middle, but the ball is taken away. Was it in time or is it over the line? No.
I think they call that a corner kick, haven't they, Jim?
Well, it's clear yet. The signals in the game of soccer are not given with too much play.
They'll have a throw-in instead.
As we see, well done throw-in, but kicked over the end via corner kick now.
This time pretty clearly a corner kick. Good break there by Tampa. Connell running out of defense, must have run about 60 yards with that ball.
Ray Lewington, a 22-year-old Englishman, should have a long career ahead of him in the North American Soccer League. Okay, we have Fabiani in the middle. along with Peter Anderson.
The question is he coming over in the air, or are they going to play it on the ground again?
On the ground again to Wes McLeod. McLeod, a fine young Canadian. Oops. Just oops on that, I would say.
Well, a difficult situation, because when the ball comes out, everybody must move out.
1-1 with 9 minutes left. Remain in the first half. Jim McKay with Paul Gardner and Vern Lundquist. Tampa on the attack in the white, trying to get it to Fabiani, but no. It was Buzz Parsons, number 7, intercepting for Vancouver. And here's Kevin Hector all by himself. Down he goes. Vern, do you have something for us?
Yes, Jim, I'm standing with Tampa Bay coach Gordon Jago, who said to me just prior to what appeared to be a handball, you thought the referee had the things well under control.
Yes, it's a good match. It's very open. It's end-to-end. We've seen a lot of excitement. They've hit the post, and I think it's a fair result at this moment in time. Both sides are throwing in, and I think that's good, and the crowd are enjoying it.
No competitive advantage gained thus far, then?
No, I think it's very even. I think the battles are still to be won, particularly in midfield. They started off, I thought, ahead of us in midfield at the first early stages, but we've got a grip of it now, and it's gone backwards and forwards, quite even and quite free. I think all the statistics will show that. It's corner kicks and such, very even shots on goal, I think, and we're the only disappointment I thought we had a penalty there, but there we are. You have to live with those.
Okay, Gordon, thank you. Jim?
Okay, here comes Tampa Bay, Gordon Jago's team, but now the ball goes back and forth at the midfield, where the battle for control takes place in this game. Somebody here made the observation that Gordon Jago looks a lot like Bill Bradley, the former New York Knicks basketball star, now U.S. Senator from New Jersey. Observation made by Mark Brickley, who's been at my side all season long and has done a sensational job spotting these soccer games for us. Thanks to him, for sure. There's Carl Valentine now with the ball.
There you see how deep Valentine goes. He's supposed to be a forward, and yet there are only 2 Vancouver players behind him when he got that ball.
That was Weimark in the middle, who had it momentarily. Now, back out. Johnson almost had it, but here comes Gregory. Craven marking him, but he's got the ball again. He's got Fabiani in the middle, but he's got Johnson all over him, too. Playing on artificial turf today, and you'll notice that their moves are a little bit different.
Yeah, it's not quite so easy for Wegerle. Wegerle really is a better player on grass than artificial turf, because he's a speed merchant and he likes to cut. He likes to move from left to right while running at speed. It's a little difficult to do on artificial turf.
And of course, Tampa Bay's home field is artificial, whereas Tampa Bay's home field is real grass, whereas Vancouver is artificial turf. They're more used to it. Played well over half their games on this surface. Nothing much between these teams at the moment. 5 minutes and 55 seconds. 5:55 left in the first half. All tie at a goal apiece. Long pass downfield toward Wegerle, but it's kicked into the defender by Lenarduzzi, into the goalkeeper. Intentionally, of course. 1-1. We'll be back. Overcast has moved in over Giant Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, but it's still a very pleasant September afternoon. Score remains the same, 1-1, Vancouver and Tampa Bay. Just 5 minutes exactly remaining in the first half as Vancouver in the blue moves to the attack. There's the center towards Weimark into the goal, but there was a whistle.
Yeah.
There's going to be a foul call there.
I think we clearly heard that whistle more or less as contact was made there. About 4 players going up for the ball. Referee's called pushing on one of the Vancouver forwards.
I think against Weimark. Let's have a look
See
at
the cross coming over here from Buzz Parsons. The first time 4 players going together there. But the player who headed the ball was Weimark, but the player on whom pushing was called was clearly not Weimark. If anybody, would have been Kevin Hector, I think.
One thing's for sure, the player on whom it was called was wearing a blue shirt, because Tampa now has the ball. There's another
player on the left there. I can't spot who it is. Let's see if we can see this time. Here comes Buzz Parsons' cross. And Weimark is blotting him out completely.
Valentine. It was Carl Valentine, was it? Number 21. Now we're back live. Score remaining then at 1-1. 4 minutes exactly remaining in the first half. Let's take a quick break. The action is live. The score remains tied at 1-1 between Vancouver and Tampa Bay. 3 minutes, 15 seconds remaining in the first half. It's the Soccer Bowl for the championship of the North American Soccer League. The final game of the season before a fine, enthusiastic, and big crowd here in Giant Stadium in New Jersey. Although their favorites, the Cosmos, didn't make it, the fans in this area have turned out in tremendous numbers to see the championship game. It's another sign of, I think, maturity and growth for the league. halftime and live interview with the great Pele, up close and personal, with Bob Lenarduzzi of the Whitecaps. First half highlights and a report on what's happening in American college football as that season really gets underway this afternoon. Later today, you'll be seeing Alabama against Georgia Tech on ABC as NCAA college football begins its season. And here comes Tampa Bay again. There is Leonard. There, Fabiani trying to chip it over the head of the goalie, but he didn't do it.
I think there was a handball in there somewhere. A little bit of very good-looking control from Fabiani, but I think he handled that ball as it came over.
Another look at it.
I see the ball pushed through, and he burst between now. Does he handle? Yeah, clearly handled. Brings the ball down with his hand there. And you can see that's John Craven appealing for handball, knowing he's going to get it, because it was a rather obvious handball.
2 minutes exactly remaining in the first half. Tampa Bay with the ball again, tied at 1-1. Well, that second half should really be something. Each team with a goal. Should they be tied at the end of the game, there'll be sudden death. If that doesn't do it, then a shootout. It will end today. The season will be all over by 4:30 Eastern time. Kevin Hector now moving it toward Lewington, but it went astray. Headed away by Mike Connell. Headed back by Alan Ball. Hector on the ground, and he's not faking it this time. There is Alan Ball still. Play going on, despite the fact that Hector is down on the ground. That often happens in soccer. Eventually, though, the referee usually calls for injury time as soon as play, or the play in progress seems to have stopped. The moment, though, is still going on. Hector on his knees. You see him with his head bent over. His teammates obviously concern him, but they have to play. Now, referee DiPolito calls for injury time, and the clock will stop. One of the rare instances in the game when time is taken out. Let's take a break and come back. Not too good a shot of this, but there he is on the left side of your picture, coming in.
Well, there's obviously a very late foot coming in there from either Rodney Marsh. I think that was Rodney Marsh, actually. Probably got it on Kevin Hector's lower leg or on his ankle there. In the meantime, there's been a discussion, if you want to call it that, between the referee and Van der Veen and Alan Ball, who were really having a go at each other on the other side of the field. And the referee, there he is, Gino DiPolito, called them together and gave them quite a harsh talking to, telling them they better cut it out or somebody's going to go off.
While we were away, we could hear the discussion, but I think it's just as well that you at home did not hear it.
Yes, not a drawing room.
There is Alan Ball. This man was one of the key players for England when they won the World Cup in 1966. He's 34 years old now. He's only 5 feet 6 inches tall, weighs about 125 or 30 pounds, soaking wet, I think. But what a player he is. And he came to Vancouver in the middle of the season from Philadelphia and has really been a key member of their team since then. There's the unofficial clock. Just that number of seconds remaining in the first half as it's tied up at 1 apiece. Well, Hector will get a rest at halftime at least. Willie Johnston now with the ball, getting it to Hector. Hector looks okay now. Back to Ball and over to Ray Lewington. Unofficially 35 seconds left in the half. Lenarduzzi with a long cross-field pass to Buzz Parsons.
That's indicative of some tactics there on the part of Vancouver, who seemed to overload this left side of the field. They had 5 players working the ball around here, and then suddenly the ball is switched to the right-hand side of the field, where either Parsons or Valentine seem to have clear sailing.
Okay, here comes Steve Wegerle with Hector just behind him. Lenarduzzi picked the ball away, and now Hector has it. Unofficially, 7 seconds in the half. The referee keeping the only official time in the game. He's in charge of everything, absolutely everything. And that's it. They'll go to the dressing room, all tied. Vancouver 1, Tampa Bay 1. Coming up, live interview with Pele and other halftime events.
Inside Soccer is brought to you by Minolta, the easy-to-use automatic 35mm reflex camera. Jim, thank you. Over the course of the previous 8 telecasts that we've had, we've been pleased to present Inside Soccer tips from Pele. A variety of the skills necessary in this sport, and today we have a special treat. We have the man with us live. Pele, welcome to our broadcast once again, and I wonder, of all of the tips that you've given the young people of America throughout the summer, is there one tip that is more significant and more important than any other?
I think no one is more important than the other one. You'll see in the game, like we saw this game, every movement is very important. Dribbling, ball control, kick strong, and the head. Then I advise the kids, If he has some problem with the left foot, don't kick well, must practice, you know, with your left foot. If you don't have a good ball control, you must to have a practice and ball control, because everything is very important.
Okay, we look forward to having you with us again next year. Pele, thank you so much for being with us here.
No doubt about it. We're gonna be here because, you know, soccer is very important. We see now the crowd here. It's not Cosmo game, but
Action photography is easy.
Organization of soccer in this country. They're speaking of the North Americanization, really, because many of the fine players coming into the league from this continent are from Canada as well as the United States. Such a one is Bob Leonarduzzi, who was born less than a mile from the Vancouver Whitecaps Stadium and now is one of the stars of the team. In fact, he was the second team North American Soccer League All-Star this year. Right now, why don't we meet Bob Leonarduzzi, up close and personal.
One time when we all got on the field at the same time, which is the first time that it's ever happened in the North American Soccer League. I think it was only for 6 minutes in San Diego. It was still a great feat. I mean, it made me feel very proud, and I'm sure it made my mom and dad feel very proud. Pelé is my idol, I guess. I have a picture here of him, and it's one of my prized possessions. I had the opportunity of playing against Pelé when he was with the New York Cosmos. And although he wasn't at his prime then, it's still a great honor for me to have played on, or have been on the same field as him. Last year was my most successful season with the Whitecaps. I got 10 goals and a number of assists. And I won a trophy for being named North American Player of the Year. It was a great honor for me. My dad has a wine cellar in the basement, and he gets his grapes from California every year, and he sets up his machine in the garage, and the grapes get crushed there, and he makes a good bottle of wine. In the off-season, I play a lot of racquetball because of the weather in Vancouver isn't too nice to play tennis, but I enjoy playing racquetball. During the
There's the way they stand at halftime. Soccer Bowl 79. The Vancouver Whitecaps from all the way across this continent won. The Tampa Bay Rowdies from Florida, of course, also won. All tied up. Well, it's been certainly a very exciting game. What do you think of the caliber of play so far?
Caliber of play is very high and is remarkably even. I mean, we've had 2 goals and we've had 2 disallowed goals, one for each side, and we've had chances that have gone astray for each side. Very even, still anybody's game.
Why don't we take a look at the goals? First of all, on our highlights, here comes Trevor Wymark all by himself for Vancouver.
Trevor Wymark just absolutely bullying his way through the middle, and he is right down the middle there. Bilecki's out in the middle of his goal, but he goes underneath him. Very well taken shot, though. It's not easy when you're confronted with a goalkeeper. You've not got much of the goal to shoot at. You can see him going past Kitchener there. There's the left foot shot. And again, I really would have thought that Bilecki might have got that shot because it was straight at him and it was taken from about 10 yards away. Now the second goal, a tackle in midfield, which Anderson, the ball ran loose, and Anderson.
We're back at Giant Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey, and Soccer Bowl 79, almost ready for the start of the second half as the teams come out. There are the halftime statistics. As you can see, everything's pretty much even. 5 shots to 4 for the Whitecaps, 3 saves to 1, fouls 9 to 6, 4-3 on corner kicks. Nothing to choose between the teams, either statistically or on the scoreboard or on the playing field, I would say.
Very little indeed, and you wonder whether this isn't making both coaches think about a tactical substitution here. They both have players on the bench who they might well want to bring on as game winners, as people who can score sudden goals. Tampa in particular seems strong in this department with Barilich, the midfielder, and the little winger Grenier.
Would you say that Jan van der Veen, who we're looking at there, is a pretty tough-looking guy? By the way, if you're wondering if his nose got into that shape when it was broken in the Philadelphia playoff, no, it's been broken a number of times. In fact, he said after that, he said, gee, I think he got knocked into a little better shape again. All right, we started the second half. It's 1-1. Vancouver in the blue, going from left to right this time. They've changed ends of the field. Tampa in the white. And the championship of the league at stake. Matty Andrzejewski, they're wearing a bandage on his right hand and forearm. He's a young English player. Came over here just at the beginning of the season. We saw him when he'd been here one day. There's a corner kick for Vancouver now. Willie Johnston taking it. The Scot. One time early this year during the season, he was about to take a corner kick where the stands are close to the play, and he reached over, got a beer from a fan, then centered the ball, and they scored a goal on it after he had had his sip of beer. He's quite a colorful guy. So nothing really important happening in the opening seconds, as is normal. Both teams trying to get things organized. As they play before a big crowd, it's been estimated at 50,000. We'll have the official attendance a little bit later on. And remember, it's not the home field of either team. They're a long way from home. Tampa almost 1,200 miles. Vancouver about 3,000 miles. One team for the United States, the other from Canada. There's a look at the stands here, and it holds just a little over 75,000 at Giants Stadium. We say the official attendance not in. They estimated 50. Could be more than that, I think. Okay, here comes Tampa Bay. John Gorman, number 3, moving it back to Wes McLeod. Now to Van der Veen as they come from right to left. Rodney Marsh playing the last game of his career. Competitively, that is. Next week they're having a benefit game for him, so-called, in which he'll receive all the receipts. Tampa Bay against Fort Lauderdale, and that was Andrzejewski slipping on the wet portion of the field.
At least he's grinning about it, which is fine, because he made a lovely run there, beautiful run. He called for the ball, he got it, and just as the ball arrived, perfectly placed, he fell over.
Okay, he smiles about it. By the way, there hasn't been any rain here, but they put water or some substance on the field to wipe off the American football lines that had been put down earlier in the week. They'll be put down again tonight because the Giants, New York Giants, are playing a home game here tomorrow. Okay, here comes Tampa Bay again. Mike Connell, the Iron Man of the defense. Doesn't look iron. He's a slender young South African, but he can play. There's Andrzejewski again. Plays for Southampton, as does Alan Ball on the other side, right? They know each other very well. Barry Kitchener, Van der Veen, and a whistle.
Rather dangerous, rather ugly-looking tackle from Alan Ball there on Van der Veen. And as I say, there was some bad blood between those two earlier in the game. So apparently halftime has not quietened that down.
A free kick for Tampa Bay. Again, for you newcomers, just about all the fouls in soccer are punished by a free kick to the other team at the point of the foul. And there's another one. They are of two natures, direct free kick or indirect free kick. Direct for the so-called more serious fouls, indirect, where you must touch another player before it goes into the goal, for the less serious fouls. But if a serious foul occurs in the penalty area, in there, then it's a penalty kick.
Something that looked as though it was going to be a dangerous situation there as that ball came across.
Yeah. Boy, it's really slippery over there in that corner of the field.
I think that's the only damp part left on the field now, out on that wing there.
Yeah. There is Oscar Fabiani, you saw him. And there, Phil Parks, the goalie of Vancouver. Buzz Parsons now. Craven, the captain, John Craven, on this team that is entirely either British or Canadian in the starting lineup. In fact, in the whole squad, they have one South African. 16 players must be named before the game as the only eligible players to be in the ball game this afternoon. Now, 3 substitutes are allowed for each team in the North American Soccer League. But when you're substituted for, you can't come back. No substitutes so far.
Question of substitutes. Vancouver taking a bit of risk because they do not have a substitute goalkeeper on the bench, which means they're relying on Phil Parks not getting injured. He's been pretty durable, so I think it's probably a pretty safe thing to do, but there is a risk element involved there. Buzz Parsons climbing all over Rodney Marsh there.
Who lost his shoe in the process.
Rodney Marsh always manages to introduce a bit of theatrical flair to everything that happens to him somehow or other.
Well, in his days in England, he was known as the Clown Prince of Soccer.
You'll see Buzz Parsons' leg really not making contact with the ball, but making a good deal of contact. There he goes again, and that's where he kicks the shoe off, making a good deal of contact with Rodney Marsh.
I gather this game next week in which he receives all the profits is something that does happen in England occasionally.
Well, it happens all over the world, yes.
Yeah, not here, previously, that I know of.
In soccer, no, I don't think so.
Okay, here come the Tampa Bay Rowdies, looking for the North American League Soccer Championship that eluded them last year. Kick back to the Vancouver goalie, and that always brings booze, as we've said before, like the intentional walk in baseball, kicking it back to your goalie brings booze.
Well, double booze this time, because they don't like the pass back, and they don't seem to like Phil Parks either.
You see their record in the playoff that they've scored more goals, both teams, by the precise same number in the second half than in the first. Okay, it's 1-1, 39 minutes, 35 seconds left. 5 seconds left in the game. Vancouver in the blue is moving left to right. That's Willie Johnson, number 20. Louis Scott. Down he goes, but the referee says play on. This is soccer, not a sissy's game. A lot of physical contact in this sport. The legal physical contact is a hard shoulder charge, man-to-man, when you're playing for the ball. But there's certainly a lot of unintentional physical contact. There's Kevin Hector, number 11, the scoring leader for Vancouver. He was knocked down, apparently injured in the first half, but back in shape. Ball to Weimark, now across field to Leonard Doozy. He slipped on that wet side. It's that entire far sideline that's wet. Tony Waiters watching his Whitecaps. Again, they're demonstrating that poise they've had all through the year. They never shake, unflappable. Tampa Bay has shown the same sort of poise, really. They had a 4-game losing streak near the end of the season. As soon as they got into the playoffs, they've come to life. Had to win 2 games last Sunday night against San Diego to make it here today. Here comes Valentine. This 21-year-old Englishman is really good. Here's Kevin Hector to Willie Johnson again. Johnson likes to shoot along the ground as well as head them. And there's going to be a foul. Was it in the penalty area or out? I think out.
Outside, pulled down by, or tripped, if you like, by Mike Connell. Gorman arguing there, presumably again saying, as soccer players will, that Willie Johnson wasn't really tripped at all, that he could have jumped over Connell's leg. We'll form our own opinions, Johnston. Connell really in there, no question about that one. Not tripped in the classic sense of taking his ankle, but taking him further up the leg.
All right, it'll be a penalty kick, excuse me, not a penalty kick, a free kick for Vancouver. A penalty kick would occur if that had taken place over that white line about 3 feet further forward, and that would have been from that spot you see on the field, one-on-one with the goalie. As it is, it's just a free kick. You saw the wall there, and shot that almost eluded them. But it's still 1-1 with 36 minutes left. The action is live. Once again, it's the Whitecaps 1, the Rowdies 1, all tied up. Second half of play, the championship at stake. And Vancouver in the blue, moving from left to right. Alan Ball, 23, towards Valentine, knocked away by Vanderveen, the man that scored the goal for Tampa. Rodney Marsh losing the ball to Ray Lewington, the young redhead, over to Alan Ball, all 5 feet 6 inches of him, and then across field to Willie Johnson. Little Willie is small, but oh my, he's good. Now we hear the Cosmos chant going up. I think that's a bit of irony on the part of the fans in the New York area here. They don't like the pace of the play at the moment, so they're chanting for the Cosmos. Willie doesn't even hear him. He's still talking. Likes to talk a lot during the game.
Yeah, he talks. If he can't find anybody else to talk to, well, he'll talk to himself.
That's right. There is the strong throw-in. A center, really.
Yeah, all of us are center. Kitchener way up in the air on top of everybody, heading it, but not heading it to a teammate. And again, the ball has gone out of play on the far side.
Well, so far the second half has been a little slow. We have 35 minutes left in the game. Neither of these teams want to give up that goal that could cost them the championship. On the other hand, they're going to have to go out and get it if they're going to win.
Well, I think that's an example right there of the sort of caution which I really wouldn't have thought was necessary this early in the second half. Kenyon pushing it back to his goalkeeper from, a good 40 yards out.
Should it end in a tie, there will be sudden death overtime, remember? And if that doesn't do it, then the shootout. We saw such shootout heroics and drama here last week. We think that might last us for a while, but it could happen again.
Carl Valentine trying to turn there on Wes McLeod. He succeeded in turning, but in doing so, he stuck his rear sort of all over McLeod and pushed McLeod off the ball. So that's a free kick to Tampa. There's
McLeod, the young Canadian, number 8 on Tampa Bay. 21 years old, that's all. Here comes Vanderveen. He's been around a lot longer than that. Rodney Marsh now. All the way across the field to Steve Wegerle on his usual wing.
He's on his usual wing, but he's on a wet wing, as we've found out there.
Taken away by Narduzzi. And Hector there. Back to Narduzzi.
Now, that may have looked like like obstruction there. Lenarduzzi keeping Wegerle away from the ball, but that would not be called as obstruction because Lenarduzzi had the ball in front of him. He was within playing distance of the ball.
If you weren't with us in the first half, it's a beautiful September afternoon. Sunny part of the time, cloudy the rest, but the temperature very pleasant for playing the game and for watching it. Okay, the throw-in for Vancouver. They scored the first goal, but then Tampa Bay tied it up. Both goals in the first half. We now have 33 minutes, 40 seconds left in the game. And the struggle at midfield goes on. Nobody being able to assert dominance at all, but here comes Hector. Kevin Hector down the middle comes Alan Ball. Weimark's also in the middle, and it goes over the sideline. Andrzejewski there with his injured hand. You're not allowed to wear any protective equipment aside from a really necessary bandage in this game of soccer.
Bandage and, of course, shin pads. A lot of players wear shin pads under their socks, but that's about the limit of it.
Again, the long throw-in by Johnson towards Trevor Weimark, who comes out for it, has it knocked away.
And again, a repeat of the first one. It was Kitchener, who's the tallest by far of the defenders for Tampa, who got his head on that ball.
The Whitecaps setting it up with the patience that has served them, remember, all year and all through the playoffs. Might have been a bit of acting there by Buzz Parsons as he fell down. Here comes Tampa. They've got Fabiani on one side, Wegerle on the other. Back towards Fabiani, but the pass went astray. Knocked away by Craven.
Promising looking move by Tampa there, intercepting a bad pass in midfield. And really, Wegerle, who was given the ball in the clear, should have done something better with it than that. That was a chance gone begging for Tampa there.
And the crowd here, who know their soccer, gave him a little bit of booing for that. They thought he could have done it better. Here's Weimark, who scored the only goal for Vancouver so far. Did it all by himself. This time, he gets it across to Hector. He was unmarked for a moment. There's a whistle, and let's
go to curious succession of events there. There's an offside call, but it really wasn't called until after the Tampa defenders had their hand up in the air. Then the whistle came, and then I thought the flag came last of all. It should be the other way around.
Yeah, it was a little confusing. But here's Vancouver with the ball, 1-1, 31 minutes, 45 seconds left in regular playing time. Coming in towards Kevin Hector, knocked away by Mike Connell.
Well, that was a beautiful through ball by Alan Ball. All sorts of problems. Connell had to go down, slide, and stretch his legs as far as he could get them to cut that out. Otherwise, I think there were two Vancouver forwards running onto that ball.
Tampa Bay should have a long run of good play in this league. Connell there, for example, is only 22 years old. They've got a blend of youth and age, but a lot of youth coming up. Young American who hasn't been in the game yet, Perry Vanderbeck, for example, is a good one. He's only 19 years old. There's Phil Parks being booed roundly by the New York crowd, as always. Lofty Parks, they call him, because of his great height. Great, that is, for soccer. He's 6'3". He'd be a small guard in the NBA. And the free kick for Tampa Bay. 30 minutes, 55 seconds left in this game. Following the end of the North American Soccer League season, we'll be seeing the beginning of college football, remember. Alabama and Georgia Tech today on ABC. Alan Ball now to Kevin Hector. Willie Johnson is in the middle. Ball kicking on the left side, though, to Lenarduzzi, overlapping from his defender's position. At age 23, a 10-year veteran of professional soccer. Vancouver still with the ball. Tampa Bay has not had a concerted offense. There's Alan Ball getting in the middle of Weimark. The shot is in. It's a goal. Weimark scoring his second goal of the day.
Weimark kicking the ball, but obviously that hit a defender. I think it hit Barry Kitchener. Spun up in the air, and there was nothing Bielecki could do about that. That's the absolute in goalkeeper's nightmares. And the ball's going 1 minute, you start to move, you do everything for that direction, and then it spins away and drops suddenly in another direction.
And there you see the people who came more than 3,000 miles all the way from Vancouver to watch their Whitecaps. Here it is.
There's the shot. Now, you don't see too clearly in there exactly where that hit, but early in its flight, that hit a defender. He spun round. Well, Alan Ball is the man who pushes it in. Weimark hits the ball there. There's Kitchener. I think that's Kitchener who put his foot in to tackle late. It just spun off the outside of his shoe. Took it away from goalkeeper Zelko Bielecki. Bad break for Tampa there.
Okay, but Tampa has the ball now. They trail by 2-1. There's just a half an hour left in the game. Knocked out. Headed out by Buzz Parsons for Vancouver. Now the Whitecaps take the ball again. Referee Dipolito almost got the ball in his leg that time. Mike Connell now.
Let's see what the goalkeeper saw of this. Alan Ball pushing the ball in. Runs it forward, pushes it inside. There it goes. There's the shot. Now you can see that foot go up and the ball hits it, tops it.
Now Tampa Bay trying to get something going, and they have definitely been on the attack here since the goal.
Well, Tampa Bay immediately sparked, but of course Vancouver, as we said before, with their strong defense.
Well, there'll be no more cautious play by Tampa Bay, I should think. Trailing by 2-1 with 29 minutes exactly left in the game. They've got to get the evener. There is Oscar Fabiani, leading scorer in the North American Soccer League this year, beating out the great Giorgio Chinaglia by a single point on the last day of the season. A corner kick for Tampa Bay. Steve Wiggly taking it, getting it out to Wes McLeod. Didn't go for the center this time. Now towards the center. Rodney Marsh with a great shot.
Ridding his feet there. That really was a beautiful shot because the ball came back. It came to him very quickly. He volleyed it before it hit the ground. Cross comes over. It's headed back. There it goes back. Volleyed before it hits the ground. But Phil Parks in good position and safe hands took the ball really without looking too much bothered by it.
Well, Tampa Bay certainly has served notice that they have not conceded the championship. Not by a long shot. With 28 minutes, 14 seconds. DiPolito, the referee, with a multiple whistle here, trying to keep control of the game. Willie Johnston now for Vancouver. They've got the lead. Another one could, well, pretty well wrap it up for them. Down goes Willie. Again the whistle, and he'll get the free kick.
That was a nasty fall. Not so much where the contact was made. You can see him holding his shoulder there. He sort of went up in the air as the contact was made below the waist, but he came down heavily on his left arm.
Injury time then. Vancouver leading 2-1 with 27:53 left in the game. As we come back, Vancouver had a free kick. It was wafted over the head of the defensive wall, but right into the hands of goalie Zeljko Bilecki. It's Vancouver leading by 2-1, 27 minutes, 40 seconds now unofficially remaining in the game. And this is the final game of the season for the championship of the North American Soccer League.
As Willie Johnson easing his shoulder, he fell very heavily on that left shoulder, but he's not even talking to himself there.
Rodney Marsh with the ball. Rodney Marsh for Tampa Bay, number 10. Oh, nice little move, but he couldn't get by the defender, Buzz Parsons, and that'll be called obstruction. It'll be a free kick.
That clearly was obstruction,
yeah,
because not only was the ball not within playing distance, but Buzz Parsons wasn't even facing the ball. He was too intent on keeping Rodney Marsh away from it.
You must give the man room to play the ball. Oh, a lovely little healer there by Wegerle, but it'll be a throw-in for his team, and Wegerle will take it himself. Number 7 there, the young South African with a long throw-in toward the middle. Knocked away. And there's a shot by Andrzejewski and a whistle.
Yeah, no offside call. Offside. That's the problem we've had before in this game with Tampa.
Another look at the goal that gave Vancouver the lead.
Pushing the ball in. Weimark, first time. Now up goes a foot there. Much too late with the tackle. I still can't be certain who that is, but I still think it was probably Kitchener or Connell.
That, by the way, is the 7th assist in the playoff for Alan Ball out of 14 goals that the team has scored in the playoffs. Remarkable record, indicating just how important he has been to this team since he came from Philadelphia. Remember, Ball is the man who starred in the World Cup for England 13 years ago. He's not that old. Just in his early 30s now, and obviously still with a lot of playing talent. He may not be back next year because he's a lone player, one of the few loners on the Vancouver team, and next year there will not be any lone players from England in the North American Soccer League. So unless they sign into a full-time contract, he won't be back. Gorman now, John Gorman for Tampa Bay. Valentine's kept Gorman pretty much out of the game today, I think.
Well, Gorman as an attacking force, we just haven't seen at all.
No. Well, here he comes now, and he can... Well, he can score and he can center it, and
exactly.
He didn't do either.
That's the sort of run that Gorman loves to make, but we haven't seen, until that run, in fact, until the very moment we said it, we haven't seen that. And I suppose Tampa now needing this goal, having to attack, will try to bring him more into the game on the left flank here.
All right, a corner kick for Tampa. A good offensive opportunity for them. They've got Peter Anderson in the middle and a couple of others. With Fabiani running in trying for the header, but didn't get it. Now Van der Veen, who scored the only goal of the game for Tampa Bay, has it out there. 25 minutes, 7 seconds left in the game. And it'll be a throw-in for Tampa Bay. Van der Veen will take it. There's a good look at the rugged countenance of the Dutchman. And there you see him, 13 years with Sparta Rotterdam. Wes McLeod is a sandwich between two Vancouverites. the province of British Columbia, all watching us live on television again this afternoon. And we assume everybody's indoors, that the streets are deserted again as they were last Saturday. It's not over, though. 2-1 Vancouver.
Or laboratory.
The score remains 2-1 Vancouver as the Whitecaps and the Tampa Bay Rowdies battle for the championship of the North American Soccer League. Vancouver in blue with 23 minutes, 45 seconds remaining in the game. Trying to mount an attack, and there's a whistle.
Well, evident a whistle. Connell coming in late. In fact, I think he may get a warning on this because he tackled very late, as he's going to get a yellow card. He tackled Hector very late.
The yellow card, a caution. That means if you get another one, you're out of the game. Earlier, Rodney Marsh of Tampa Bay was given a yellow. That's the second yellow of the afternoon, and there are the fans from Vancouver. Here's another look.
Coming in, you see the ball goes away. There it goes, and in goes the leg. Much too late, and of course, there's really no way that Hector could avoid that.
Okay, quickly to the sidelines to Vern and Johan Cruyff.
Johan, I wonder if you could give us an idea if you think Vancouver has established dominance in the game so far.
Well, the first half I thought it was a great game to watch in the first place. I hope that the next time I leave again, Rowdy score another goal. Maybe we've got an extra time or whatever it is to make it even more exciting.
So you don't think 2-1 is going to be the final then?
I don't think so, because the Rowdies, they've got to take more risk. So normally there will be another goal on either side.
If they do take the risk, that's the point, and Vancouver can counterattack. Yeah.
They've got to take the risk, because 2-1 is losing.
All right, Johan, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Okay. Right.
Jim?
Vancouver with the ball in the blue. There comes the center towards Valentine, and he hits it over the goal, but there's a whistle. It'll be a free kick for Tampa Bay. I'd like to alert our stations. We'll be taking a station break here shortly, by the way. 23 minutes, 20 seconds left in the game. Again into touch or out of bounds. The throw in for Tampa Bay. A lot of conversation on the soccer field. Even more today, it would seem. Mike Connell, that was, to Wegerle, and then Wegerle getting it over on the right side to Andrzejewski. Andrzejewski with the center that's headed away by Craven. Renarduzzi getting it back to goalie Parks, and he of course is roundly booed because this is New York. Not that they do that to everybody. I mean, they always do that to him in New York, as we explained earlier, because he gestured to them earlier in the regular season. A lot of bad blood this year between Vancouver and the Cosmos anyway. Now, an opportunity for that gentleman to take part in the game.
Yeah, well, more boos from the fans there, because that's something with the Cosmos you very rarely see. That you very rarely see the ball booted into the stands on a clearance kick by the Cosmos. Their players like to control the ball and keep it in, and that was just wildly kicked out by Vancouver.
There have been no substitutes in the game so far for either side, but Bob Belitho is warming up on the sidelines for Vancouver. He's a Canadian defender and a good one.
Now you wonder who Belitho would come in for. Logically, Parsons.
Yeah. There must be two North Americans on the playing field for both teams at all times, and so he would come in for a Canadian, one would presume. Okay, Tampa Bay now trailing by 2-1.
Struggling in the middle of that towering defense there.
McLeod now with the ball, gets it back towards Van der Veen, but he lets it go by for Kitchener. Kitchener over to John Gorman. John Gorman with the stutter step. The center in towards Fabiani. No, it went past Fabiani towards Peter Anderson and is kicked off over the sideline.
Sort of danger there that can be created for a defense. They're watching Fabiani, went over his head, and Anderson sneaked in behind, got the ball on his foot, couldn't quite control it.
Trevor Wymark, by the way, whom you saw there a moment ago, has had 4 shots in the game, scored 2 goals, and a third one hit the post. Another throw in for Tampa Bay. We have 21 minutes and 5 seconds left in the game. Valentine boots it back out. Kitchener now getting it for Tampa Bay. Harried by Hector, he kicked it downfield, and
Fabiani offside. Yep, a little bit too eager.
Vancouver leads Tampa Bay 2-1. We have 20 minutes, 45 seconds. Back with more Soccer Bowl after this word. Live from Giant Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey, the first substitution of the game for Vancouver. Bob Belitho, number 10, coming into the game, replacing a fellow Canadian, Buzz Parsons. Number 10, Bob Belitho, 27 years old, medium-sized defender. Brings the ball down a lot. There he is into the game immediately. Wymark, it looks like, in essence, has come back much of the time to play defense here, Paul. And, of course, he played defense part of the year for Vancouver, although he's a forward.
He had to, because they had terrible injury problems in defense. Craven was injured and his substitute Daniel was injured. Oh, Wes McLeod getting away with a handball? No, not getting away with a handball.
Neatly heading it to Kevin Hector. Vancouver, the blue-clad Whitecaps, leading by 2-1 with 19 minutes, 35 seconds left in regular playing time. Hector with the ball. He's got 3 men in the middle. This could amount to something. Look out. Woo. Boy, very nearly. Back towards Hector again. Headed away by Tampa Bay. Watch out for Alan Ball. He gets it over to Hector again, and into the, well, almost into the side of the net, but it missed it.
Too many defenders back to get a good angle on the goal on that particular occasion.
So it's a goal kick because it was put over the goal line by the offensive team. The defensive team will put it into play. The sun comes out again. Peter Baralich is now warming up, about to enter the game for Tampa Bay. And he's coming in to replace Steve Wegerle. Peter Baralich, number 15, is a Yugoslavian. He's 27 years old, an outstanding international player. He's been injured recently. Before that, he was a key man for Tampa Bay this year at midfield.
You can see on that shot of him exactly what the injury was, too. His right thigh, heavily bandaged. He had a hamstring injury. He was out for 4 or 5 games. He came back for 10 minutes in one game and re-injured it. And I think this is his first reappearance since then. It was our game against Philadelphia.
That's right. Gorman getting it down to Rodney Marsh. Rodney being marked by Bob Belaytho. Into touch, so it'll be a throw-in for Tampa Bay. There it is to Fabiani with the kick backwards, headed high in the air. That was really up for grabs for anybody. Not too effective. But there it goes, way downfield now. He had a whistle.
Yeah, Rodney Marsh came charging in to head that ball. He did head the ball, in fact, but Belaytho was in front of him, and he just flattened Belaytho.
Boy, how he would like to win this ball game. Rodney Marsh rounding out his career today, his competitive career ending in the Soccer Bowl. They lost it last year, and most people thought in good part because he wasn't in the ball game, because he suffered an injury. He said that he went out into Central Park that morning, tried it out, and knew he just couldn't help his team. It was only announced, however, about 20 minutes before play began that he wasn't going to be in the ball game last year, and it was a real shocker. Well, he's played all the way today, but he hasn't been able to score. Here's the official attendance, 50,699. A tremendous turnout in New York to see two teams that are not only not from here, but they're a long way from home. There's a look at the crowd of more than 50,000 to watch a team from Florida play a team from the west coast of Canada. Yes, I think that pro soccer is arriving in the United States. We're sure glad we've been part of it this summer. It's been one of the most interesting, fascinating summers I've had in a long time. Well, here comes Tampa Bay. Rodney Marsh now losing the ball to Kevin Hector. Valentine down in the field, but he appears to be all right. That was Ball getting it over to Weimark. Weimark by himself. That's the way he scored the first goal of the day. Getting over this time to Belaytho. Bob Belaytho in as a substitute, a fresh pair of legs on the field. Getting it back out to Weimark again. There's Valentine. In no hurry now are Vancouver, but there's a long way. 17.5 minutes still left in the game. Valentine looking for the one that could wrap it up, taking the shot. And Bilecki comes out to get it. Now Baralich with the ball. Baralich, by the way, has scored 2 goals in his only other Giant Stadium appearances against the Cosmos, and 2 more in our first telecast, again against the Cosmos down in Tampa Bay.
A few more passes like that, and you'll know exactly why Baralich was such a key player. It was a superb pass to Rodney Marsh there. But again, the Tampa attack is broken down when he gets inside the 35-yard line.
Just under 16 minutes left in the game. Belaytho now for Vancouver. They lead 2-1. Vancouver by 2-1 over Tampa Bay. Kevin Hector going down under the assault of Kitchener, and it'll be a free kick for Vancouver. There is Barry Kitchener, number 22, 31-year-old Englishman, brought in to strengthen the Tampa Bay Rowdies in mid-season, and he's done that. Belaytho now to Kevin Hector. Hector by himself got a shot here. Look out. All right. Well, it's Vancouver 2 and Tampa Bay 1. We'll be back. Back to the live action in the Soccer Bowl. It's still Vancouver 2-1 over Tampa Bay with 15 minutes, 40 seconds remaining. Vancouver with the ball. Bilecki coming out. Kicks it far down, past the 35-yard line, and Tampa Bay has it. Here's Van de Ven with it. He scored the only goal for them so far. They haven't had a shot in a long time, not a real serious one at any rate. And there's Fabiani, leading scorer in the league, getting it towards Peter Anderson, but kicked away by Bob Lenarduzzi. He's the fellow you met up close and personal at halftime, remember, the young Canadian. But here's Barulich now, just into the game recently. The Yugoslav. And the ball lost by Van der Veen. Vancouver then taking over again.
I think you could say, Jim, for the first time in the game, it looks very clear now that one team is beginning to establish authority, and that team, of course, is Vancouver.
Well, we'll see how much. There's another look.
This, I think, is the one that Zelko Bilecki kicks out. You see, he gets it almost on his right knee.
Yep. Vancouver still with the ball in the live action here, leading 2-1. However, we'll see if Barulich can make a difference in his midfield position. He looks like he's recovered from the injury. And on the sidelines, warming up, we have John Grinja, or Grinja. You can take your choice on that pronunciation.
I would expect to come in now, because Tampa clearly are hurting up front. They're just not penetrating up there. They're unable to get anybody in close near the goal for anything that looks like a shot. And Grinja is a man who can cause problems to defenders, because he can hold the ball and he can run it at people.
There he is, getting in shape. Grinja, who last Sunday night scored the winning goal against San Diego 27 seconds after he came into the game in the series decider, the so-called mini game. So keep an eye on him when he gets in there. Right now, Vancouver still with the ball, though. If they get one, it'll be just about over. They lead by 2-1. Here is Alan Ball. He set up the last goal into Weimark again. Weimark has scored 2 goals. He almost had another shot.
Looking like he's
away by
having his third, but Kitchener blocking it. That time getting his solid foot on the ball and blocking it.
Barulich now. Harried by Hector once again over to Kitchener. Kitchener to Mike Connell. Connell down to Van der Veen. And here's one towards Fabiani, but he is outrun this time by Roger Kenyon. Vern?
Yes, Jim, I'm standing here with John Best, the former All-League defender at Dallas and now the president and general manager of Vancouver. These, John, the 13 minutes that remain are the tense ones.
They'll be the longest 13 minutes, Vern. Obviously, it's a very tight game, and both teams are battling well. Who knows what's going to happen in the last 13 minutes?
Is it your view at this point that Vancouver has control?
Well, you know, I don't think we're not flowing as well as we would like to do, obviously, but at the same time, we've seen it all year. We battle along, we make people work very hard to get anything from us. So we're always likely to take command of a game, and we're 1 goal ahead, and that's the important thing at the moment, isn't it?
Okay, John, thank you. Jim?
Willie Johnson centering the ball for Vancouver. The header by Leonard Ducey. Knocked away, and that was a very near thing.
John Gorman, yes, because Bilecki again was out of that play. He'd gone for the ball and he didn't get it. The ball was headed in by Leonard Ducey, and it was headed off the line by another defender, John Gorman. But those are the sort of things that are going to happen to Tampa, because they've absolutely got to take risks.
That was Barulich passing across field, but it was headed away by Leonard Ducey. Gee, he's played a good game again today, has Bob Leonard Ducey. Well, if they hold on to this lead, Vancouver, I have a feeling that all the people of that city, whom we are told are huddled inside by their television sets, might well stick their heads out the window and let go a civic cheer. But it's not over. Here comes Rodney Marsh for Tampa. He's got Anderson in the middle, and Fabiani keeping it for himself, faking 1 man out, keeping control, taking the shot.
Well, Phil Parks nearly caught exactly as Bilecki was down this end. Rodney Marsh with really the first bit of sustained Marsh magic that we've seen in this game, pulling the ball back, hitting it with his left foot, and again it was deflected. Parks very quick to react to that.
Last game of his career, Rodney Marsh at age 34.
Question is, who is coming off here? Is it Marsh that's coming off for Grinja?
Well, that's not clear yet. 11 minutes, 30 seconds left in the game. 2-1 Vancouver. Looks like it will be Rodney coming off. Wait a minute, he's saying no, I'm not coming out.
He's coming out.
Grinja's coming.
He doesn't want to talk to anybody. I think that's what he's saying. The fact that the sad fact of the matter is that Rodney Marsh has not had a particularly brilliant game.
No, he hasn't. So, John Grinja into the game. Gordon Jago talking to referee Dipolito, verifying the substitution, I would assume. So remember, this man came into the so-called mini-game last Sunday night, and 27 seconds after he came in, he scored the winning goal. Grinja, 30 years old. He's a Yugoslav. Played for the Toronto Metros back in 1976 in their championship drive.
Well, he, of course, was on that team that won the championship that year. So was goalkeeper Zelko Bilecki. So I have 2 players who are former North American Soccer League champions.
Okay, Tampa Bay trailing 2-1, has a corner kick. Here it comes across field. A header by Kitchener, I believe. Yep.
One up.
Way over the top of the goal.
Well executed, except that about 3 feet too high. Well taken corner kick, a well-timed run, well struck, but over the bar.
Okay, it's Vancouver 2-1. 11 minutes, 10 seconds left in the game. It's the Soccer Bowl for the championship of the North American Soccer League. Vancouver leading Tampa Bay by 2-1. Vancouver on the defense now as Tampa Bay, in the person of Mike Connell there, started the attack, but Roger Kenyon immediately knocked it away, and here on a solo run comes Kevin Hector. He could score on this baby, look out. Shoulder to shoulder, and that was a good legal charge that he got from John Gorman.
Almost legal charge. It looked as though it might have been from behind, but of course it was just a nudge. It was just enough to put him off balance. He didn't knock him down. Now he is behind him, and you can see those shoulders sort of just enough to push him off balance there. A beautifully done bit of work by Gorman.
There he is, John Gorman. Quick look at him, the moustache Scotsman. Now we have Van der Veen, by the way, is the acting captain with Marsh out of the game, and Van der Veen centers the ball towards Fabiani. They haven't been able to get it to him. Kitchener, the tall man, with the header. And the battle for the ball, and it goes to Vancouver this time with 10 minutes, 5 seconds left in the game. There's little Alan Ball getting on the left side to Leonard Doozy. Leonard Doozy has Valentine in the middle now, along with Kevin Hector, as he slows it down. And the whistle, it'll be a direct free kick. Let's go down to Vern Lundquist.
Jim, I'm with Rodney Marsh. Rodney, you did not want to come out of this game. Is that true?
Yeah, I think that's Gordon wanted to put somebody on that was fresh. You needed a fresh player in, and we need to go forward more. And I guess he figures that Grenier a better player, wing forward player.
It's disappointing to you, I know, to end your active career in this league sitting right here with me.
It's no problem. I think it's been a good, tough game, exactly how I thought it would go. You know, with the midfield taking most of the game. And I feel that unless we do something quick, we're going to end up losing the game.
Okay, Rodney, thank you. Jim?
Okay, well, here comes Tampa Bay trying to do something. There's Grenier, the man who just came into the game. He still got the ball up, and I think they called a handball there. Yep. Didn't look intentional, really, by Fabiani.
Well, it didn't start out being intentional, but I think Fabiani tried to hook the ball in as it hit his arm. There's Grenier and Fabiani colliding there, and then the ball sort of bounces up here. There it goes, and then it hits him, and now he does seem to a second effort to try and bring it under control with his arm.
Situation with Giant Stadium here being out in New Jersey. It's very often difficult to distinguish between the New York Cosmos because they are so designated. A team must represent a city in the league, and they're called New York, and the fact they play out in New Jersey. Well, we are in New Jersey, as all the people from Jersey have been calling to tell us. Okay, look out for Tampa Bay. There's Peter Anderson with the ball. Into the middle, but no! Barelich was there, but he didn't move.
Well, again, sheer frustration for Tampa because a good move, good approach work, and they had the Vancouver defense turned for once. The Vancouver defenders were facing the wrong way. The ball was pulled back quickly, but it went to a defender instead of to Barelich.
And still there are 8 minutes, 10 seconds left in the game. Tampa Bay still on the aggressive, but again they lose the ball to Lewington, who lofts it downfield. Kitchener, the last defender for Tampa Bay, taking it from Hector. And over to John Gorman. A quiet on the crowd now. Would it be the quiet before the storm? It could be. Here's Grenier again. He has a lot of moves, this 30-year-old Yugoslav veteran. There comes John Gorman now, the Scot. Down to Grenier again. Remember, Grenier's fresh. There he is, waving his arms, trying to disconcert his opponent. To Gorman again. Gorman over to Grenier on the wing. A couple players in the middle there, but it's headed over the end line. That'll be a corner kick. That was Roger Kenyon heading it. He is the man who was once left for dead after an automobile accident 2 years ago. Came out of the hospital, went home, sneezed one day, and severed his jugular vein, if you can believe that. Was rushed back to the hospital. His life was saved again, and here he is playing soccer, and playing very well.
Grenier not doing a very good job with that corner kick. Tampa can't afford to waste these opportunities. He didn't put it high enough, and it was headed straight back at him. It's just went 10 minutes, under 10 minutes left to go.
They finally got the ball back. Grenier, by the way, is the smallest player on the field at 5 feet 4 inches. Weighs just 141 pounds. And it'll be a free kick for Vancouver with 7 minutes exactly left in the game. Time unofficial. Once again, the referee, DiPolito, has the official time. Well, that's how you spell Grenier, or Grinja, if you care to anglicize it. You can go either way. There is the goalkeeper of the year, Phil Parks of Vancouver, with a long, long time-eating kick downfield. And now Vancouver with the ball. There's Weimark, the man who scored both goals for him. Looked like he might have been hit from behind, but apparently not.
Hit from behind and from the side, I think. Well, that's going against Willie Johnson. Tampa putting it in play very quickly, of course.
No, and losing it very quickly again to Alan Ball, to Willie Johnson. No, he stays with it for a moment. Willie does, gives it to Weimark now with 6 minutes, 15 seconds left in the game. Weimark again, little version of the four-corner basketball offense now. As Valentine maintains possession, he's got Alan Ball over here. Remember, he's the assist master of this team. Still with the ball, Valentine. He's got Willie Johnston in the middle right now. And Trevor Weimark on the outer edge of the penalty area over the end line. See how they call it.
Well, it should be a corner. I think Wes McLeod played that ball last. Well, he played Valentine very well because Valentine has terrific acceleration going past the player on the outside, but he couldn't get it past Wes McLeod. He stuck out a leg and gave away a corner kick.
And now the minutes dwindle down to a precious few for Tampa Bay. 5 minutes, 35 seconds left. Vancouver still with the ball, but now it is headed away by Mike Connell. Connell coming down by himself. There's nobody to help him. It's Ray Lewington kicking it over the sideline. For Vancouver, it'll be a throw-in for Tampa Bay. 5 minutes.
Ray Lewington, again, absolutely flattened by Connell there, but he just got up. He didn't even look at Connell.
5 1/4 minutes can be a long time, particularly with the championship of the league at stake, and only a 1-goal difference between the teams. Vancouver leading by 2-1 over Tampa Bay. Again, the throw-in.
Was Lewington really kicking the ball anywhere, just getting it into touch.
Tony Waiters a bit exercised at the moment over something.
Well, there seems to be a bit of an altercation.
Yes. Almost a punch up there. John Gorman and Alan Ball. Let's see what referee DiPolito's going to do about it. Well, he's given time for tempers to cool, or is he going to give a yellow card? He's writing a name down.
Yeah, he's already given a yellow card there, actually. We see Gorman coming in, and you see the foot is up there. That's the problem. Alan Ball came out with his foot up. He didn't get the ball, and he got Gorman instead. So the two of them look as though they're going to go at it with fisticuffs for a moment, but they've calmed down now.
And they both received a yellow card, or caution. One more and they'd be out of the game. There's Peter Anderson, and they say it was over the end line. A goal kick. Vancouver leads 2-1. 4 minutes, 40 seconds remain. The Vancouver Whitecaps have almost come all the way. They seem at this moment to be on their way to victory in the Soccer Bowl, but there's still 3 minutes, 55 seconds remaining in this game, and they only lead by a goal over Tampa Bay. The score is Vancouver 2, Tampa Bay 1, but Tampa in the white has the ball. Their leader, Rodney Marsh, out of the game now. John Vrinya in, who is a sudden scorer at times. Wes McLeod now with the ball for Tampa Bay. Regains possession, loses it, but there's a whistle and a free kick.
Whereas McLeod and Lewington tangled there. It's Lewington who's gone down. He's still on the ground there. I think the free kick is going to Tampa.
It is. Yeah, free kick for Tampa Bay as injury time is called with 3 minutes, 33 seconds unofficially left in the game. Ray Lewington, the 22-year-old Englishman who, oh, gee, that looks like it hurts. Cramp, would you think?
Well, I think he might have taken a knock. There were a lot of legs and knees flying in that little scramble there.
Well, you were once a pharmacist. I count on you for all my medical analysis here.
Yeah, but not a physiologist, unfortunately.
All right. There it is. Let's see now. Here's another look at it.
This is Wes McLeod and Lewington going for the ball there. Lewington going, hooking McLeod around the back there. I think he falls on something there. I think he falls on his knee.
Again, Vancouver, as we prepare for the free kick, has gone to that spread out defense rather than putting up the wall. They did this earlier in the game. Let's go down to Vern Lindquist, who's with Dr. Henry Kissinger, who's the chairman of the board of the North American Soccer League.
Jim, and Dr. Kissinger is also, I think, the most famous soccer fan in America. I know you must be enjoying this game, Dr. Kissinger.
It's a good game. Very well played, very close.
Are you pleased with the fact we have 50,000 here for a non-Cosmos game?
I have to say I'm astonished when you consider that Vancouver and Tampa are about as far away from New York as you can get. To draw 50,000 people shows that soccer has really caught on.
Augurs well for the game. Thank you, sir. Dr. Kissinger, Jim?
Tampa Bay on the attack. They trail by 2-1. And there's Grinya. Grinya all by himself. Getting it towards the middle. Fabiani is there. He hits it, but it's saved by Parks. And now we've got Tampa Bay players all over the official calling for a handball. Doesn't look like they're going to get it.
Now again, this time they feel even more certain. They've had at least one, and I think two of these before when they appealed for a handball.
Yellow card. I couldn't tell who it was for. Maybe it's for all of them. Now, a handball, again, if you're a new soccer fan, means that someone intentionally touched the ball either with their hands or any part of their arm all the way up to the shoulder.
The significance, of course, is that a handball inside the penalty area would be a penalty kick. This is Grenier absolutely forcing his way through. I thought he'd lost this ball twice, but he held on to it. He still got it here. Now, that, I think, is where the handball call is for.
Well, however, the free kick will be taken by Vancouver with 3 minutes 17 seconds left. The clock has stopped at the moment. Here we are, another look.
Grenier again forcing his way around these defenders, and as he puts the ball over, let's see if this hits a hand. Well, there, obviously, they are appealing there for that ball having hit a hand, and I think that
would have been a very tight call.
Well, it was Lewington who was the man there. And again, we remember, it has to be intentional.
That's right. I couldn't see it, could you?
Not from that angle, but from the first angle, I think clearly the ball changed its direction, so I think it probably did hit the hand.
But whether intentional or not is the question.
Yeah, well, it looked unintentional.
Okay, 3 minutes 15 seconds left. Vancouver with the ball. They lead by 2-1. But now it'll be a throw-in for Tampa Bay. Well, the Rowdies very nearly scored on that one. Let's see if they can keep their momentum. Try to tie it up. If they tie it up, they go to sudden death, remember. Okay, free kick for Tampa Bay by Van de Veen. He scored their only goal of the afternoon. Both goals for Vancouver scored by Trevor Weimar. Long pass down into the middle. And a shot by Barlich that went, 50 yards. That's what past the goal.
What we call putting it out of the goalkeeper's reach. Now that's the handball there. I think from that angle you can't see the ball change direction. From another angle we had, the ball did change direction. But I mean, I think it would be very difficult, very harsh to call that an intentional handball.
Okay, there was the shot, the header by Fabiani.
Very quick reactions from Phil Parks.
The most valuable player of the North American Soccer League playoffs has been named. It is Alan Ball, number 23 of Vancouver. You couldn't disagree with that. I can anyway. He assisted on 7 of the 14 goals his team scored, and that's going to be a direct free kick for Tampa Bay with 2 minutes 15 seconds left in the game. They're going to tie it up. They better do it quickly. Grenier with the ball again. He's got Gorman on the left. He's got McLeod just to his left, and another whistle, another free kick, a direct free kick. This is the kind, remember, for a serious foul on which a goal can be scored directly from the kick without the ball having to touch another player.
I notice the referee has stopped the clock on this too, so obviously you're going to be very strict on any time wasting around. Now this time Vancouver have put up a wall. There you see it from the back. Looks a bit porous though. Those players are not very close together.
All right, we have Oscar Fabiani, the leading scorer in the league, to take the direct free kick. He lofted it almost.
Well, I think that'll be a corner kick because it hit the wall. And again, we've had a goal scored like this already this afternoon against Bilecki. It hit the wall, and as soon as it hits the wall when it's going up, it spins away and is likely to drop suddenly. Parks, I think, would have been in trouble if that ball had been a little lower.
Clock running with 1 minute and 40 left. The ball is centered by McLeod. Knocked away by Bolaito, but back again to Tampa Bay. They still got possession. There's a man down on the field riding. I think it might be Kitchener. Yes, it is Barry Kitchener of Tampa Bay. A free kick for Tampa Bay. 1 minute, 20 seconds left in the game. Van der Veen saying, come on, let's go. Get the ball in play with a free kick. Jan Van der Veen scored earlier in the day. He's got Bringer there. He's got 5 people in the penalty area. Headed away by Lewington. Back to Tampa Bay. Van der Veen has it again. Into the middle. A little thing by Andruszewski there. Slight version of a scissors kick. Connell with the ball, but it's batted away by Valentine. It's back again towards the middle for Tampa Bay. The battle for the ball. Barlich heads it back again for the Rowdies, but here comes Valentine. And it's going to go to Barlich again. 48 seconds now. This will be their last concerted chance. But they've lost the ball. It's Kevin Hector with it now for Vancouver. It looks like they're on their way to victory in the Soccer Bowl. The first championship ever. It's the first time they've even gotten this far. Get ready to stick your heads out the window in Vancouver. It's almost time for that cheer. And there are the people who came all the way by airplane. 3,000 miles across the continent, from the shores of the Pacific to the shores of the Atlantic, to see their Whitecaps. And they're going to be rewarded, it looks like, with 15 seconds left in the game. Shortly after that, there'll be the presentation and the victory lap, which is always something great to see in a soccer championship. The crowd will stay for that, and we hope to see it. The countdown has started. 4, 3, 2, 1. That's unofficial, but is that it? Unofficially, the clock has run out. run in by the lineman, but now it's not clear whether he called the game over or not. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, the game is over because the linesmen are on the field.
Okay. It's all over. The Vancouver Whitecaps are the new champions of the North American Soccer League, and they earned it every step of the way, all season long and through the playoffs, maintaining their poise. There's Coach Tony Waiters, who's done a magnificent job in the past 2 years. He came over near the end of the 1977 season, turned the team around immediately from a losing record, and has had them going ever since. Last year, they were somewhat surprisingly knocked out fairly early in the playoffs, but this year they've done it. We'll be back at Giant Stadium. We're back again at Giant Stadium. Booing you here is directed at the commissioner of the league, Phil Woosnam. Now, the background to that is that in the first playoff game, after the first playoff game between Vancouver and the Cosmos, the commissioner suspended for the season Carlos Alberto, one of the great stars of the New York team. And the Cosmos fans, many of whom are here today, didn't like it at all, and they still don't like it, and they won't let Phil introduce Dr. Henry Kissinger to present the trophy. We would hope that they'd have their hooting and then quiet down a little bit.
This is the first opportunity they've had to express any opinion on that decision, of course.
By the way, they've also started to boo goalie Phil Parks, and he just blew some kisses at them.
We've had fans running onto the field being intercepted by security forces here.
All right, Dr. Henry Kissinger, the former Secretary of State, about to make the presentation of the trophy. Crowd quieting down. I think that if he starts to talk, they might stop. A few spectators came out on the field, and they were hustled off rather quickly by security guards. Okay, and now the chant starts. Cosmos, Cosmos. Well, wait till next year, fellas. This was not the year for the Cosmos. Last year was their year. This year it belongs to the Vancouver Whitecaps. And I really wish that the crowd here would quiet down so that the Whitecaps can get their due. They really earned it. Let's take a break. There's the final score. Well, an unfortunate, impolite display here at Giant Stadium by some fans of the New York Cosmos, it would appear. That being the only people we know of with a reason they feel to boo Commissioner Phil Woosnam, they won't allow the former Secretary of State, Dr. Henry Kissinger, now the chairman of the board, to make the presentation. Let's go down to Vern Lundquist. There is Rodney Marsh receiving the losers trophy. That is the other finalists. Let's go down to Vern Lundquist.
Jim, I'm just standing here watching what is going on, and Commissioner Woosnam, as you could tell, trying to talk over the crowd, could not.
Soccer Bowl champions, John Craven.
The defensive player of the game, by the way, is John Craven, the offensive player. There is John Craven with the rowdy shirt. You see, they've exchanged shirts, which is a tradition in soccer. He was named the defensive player of the game. The offensive player of the game will be Trevor Whitemark, who scored both goals for the winning Vancouver Whitecaps. The most valuable player of the entire playoffs, number 23, Alan Ball of the Whitecaps. So the trophy has been given there. There is the trophy indicating that the Vancouver Whitecaps, and don't get confused, even though they're wearing rowdy shirts, they are the Whitecaps. They have won the championship, and in a moment they should be having their victory lap, a great tradition in international soccer. We've seen it at the FA Cup final in England. You've seen films of it probably in the World Cup, and now the Whitecaps are going to share it with their fans who've come all the way, and with you Whitecaps fans who are watching on television in Vancouver. The Whitecaps had bad blood during the season with the New York Cosmos, and that's why you're hearing some boos. They're also at the Tampa Bay end of the stadium right now, but it appears to me that most of the Tampa Bay fans are applauding and cheering for Vancouver as they go by. They're running the cup around Giant Stadium. When they get to the other end, the last people they'll go past on their way to the dressing room will be their own fans who've come all the way. Trevor Whitemark shouting, letting the crowd know that they're happy, no matter what anybody else is. It's been a great season for us, our first season of professional soccer. ABC Sports will be back next year. Paul Gardner, I really can't tell you what a great pleasure and an honor, really. It's been working with you all season long, even better than I thought it would be.
Thank you, Jim. It's been a wonderful summer, I think, for everybody, because I've been just so impressed with the professionalism and the spirit that's been brought to these telecasts. I think they've been absolutely marvelous, and I think the technical quality of the cameramen, the producing, the directing, everything, I don't think I could have asked for anything better.
Now they're coming to the Vancouver fans, and they're really letting them know it now that they love them. The Whitecaps. Wait till they get back to Vancouver. I can't imagine the reception. Our thanks to Phil Canistra, by the way, who's been our expert on headset in the booth. And again to Mark Brickley, whom we thanked earlier, but what a great job Mark has done all season long. So the Whitecaps win it. The final score was 2-1. It'll be a long night for these people, whether they go home or not.
See